Good morning. Yes, another one of those nights where I wake up before midnight, or right around, actually, it was right around midnight, and the meditation was very good, and I came up with a title, that goes quiet hours when I first wake up. That's when the inspiration flows, and if I don't take advantage of it, it's easy to fall into the background. I mean, that's when there's times when I pray and that means I'm talking to God, but there's times that I think God is talking to me. And this is one of those times, and the title that I came up with for this video is "The Tyranny of Separation is the Root of Ignorance." And the blurb goes like this: Yesterday was a very busy day for me. There was quite a bit of family activity, including a birthday party for my son, as well as several revealing conversations. Perhaps the most important conversation, at least in relation to the big picture, was one I had with a friend about the video "Yellow Rose for Texas, the Allied Forces." She was raised a Christian and is now studying Buddhism. She was confused, as so many of us are. Which of all the competing ideologies is the right one? And which of the self-proclaimed gods is the true one? When those questions become the premise for our life, we are caught in the tyranny of separation, which is the root of ignorance that causes the dilemmas we face as sentient beings. At least that's the way I see it, which I hope to explain in this video, and I have the wrong word there. Let me see. Type it correctly. Thank you. Anyway, yes. I was asked by this friend, who I briefly described in the video, or in the blurb, to watch the Yellow Rose for Texas, the Allied Forces, once again. She had watched it, and it was troubling her mind. And I had already rejected it, but because she wanted to discuss it with me, I did watch it a second time. And I'm not going to tell you that I disagree with everything that's in that video. I'm certainly not going to do that, because there's always, in everything, even disinformation, there are always elements of truth. That's just the way it is. Nothing is completely a lie, and nothing is completely true. And that's across the board when you're living in a world of duality, as we are, as creation is. I am not at war with duality. I am not trying to get into an anti-dualistic stance, because to me, as I've said so many times, that is destruction of the very creation itself. Nothing in physical manifestation, in physical creation, exists as one thing without its opposite. There is always the opposite. Always. There is the positive and negative polarity, the north and the south magnetic poles. There is the light and the dark. There is the masculine and the feminine. These are natural polarities that exist in all created form. All of it. Created form does not exist where there is no dark, just light. Where there is no feminine, just masculine. Where there is no negative, just positive, etc., etc., etc. Down the line, these are polarities that are made to dance, not duel. And that has been impressed upon me time and again by Spirit. Ron, you don't know enough to judge, because when you're judging another, you don't have all the facts. You're not seeing the bigger picture. You're not understanding the dynamics that are at work. You are rejecting something. You are negating something. You are not practicing unity consciousness. You are practicing separation consciousness. And separation consciousness that pits things, that pits opposites and polarities against each other is polarization, it's dueling, it is a perpetual war. And as long as we get trapped in that perpetual war, we are living in ignorance. As the ambassador often says, I am against ignorance. As he often says, I am against tyranny. Yet he and most of the world are still trapped in the tyranny of separation, where they're trying to eliminate rather than reconcile the opposite. Almost all of our religions, I don't even want to say almost, all of our religions have been corrupted by the tyranny of separation, which leads to human ignorance. If there's any religion that is not corrupted, it is not a religion. It is because it is spirituality that recognizes wholeness, that recognizes the connection of everything within nature. What is nature? Nature is the creation. Nature is that which is natural as opposed to that which is artificial. And there are artificial things that have been created. That's part of the distortion. We've been able to create that which is not real. Separation is a true illusion, but it's an apparent truth. That's the dilemma that we find ourselves in. It is an apparent truth. We see constantly this faction warring against that faction, this belief system at war against that belief system. It's God and the devil. It's the creator and the jinn. It's the light forces versus the dark forces. And we have this projection that comes from our root of ignoring the big picture. We have this projection that creates tyranny, that creates the duel, that creates the perpetual war, that prevents peace, that prevents unification, that prevents reconciliation, that prevents us from finding the middle way of Buddhism and the reconciliation of Christianity. Christ was in the world reconciling the world to himself. Christ always does that. The Buddha always finds the middle way. Always finds the middle way. Because that's the center. That's the essential element that allows for the reconciliation to occur. It's from the middle or from the heart, the 555 or the 444. And yes, where am I getting this 555 and 444? Well, there's only 9 numbers and a 0, but the 0 is a 0. So there's only 9 numbers, 1 through 9. And everything else after that repeats. What is the middle of the numbers? 5. That's the heart of the matter. We have 7 chakras. What is the 7 primary chakras? What is the middle chakra? It's the heart chakra. It's the way of the heart. The way of the heart is the middle way. It's the true path that leads to wholeness. The heart unifies the lower energies and the upper energies, sky and earth, masculine and feminine. And when I say masculine, masculine isn't higher than feminine, though that's the way we think of it in expressing it in 2-dimensional reality, or 3-dimensional reality, I should say. They are equal. You can turn them, you can turn all of them this way because they are inclusive of one another. They are 2 sides of the same coin. And this is the hardest thing for us to grasp. You can't have a coin that's only the heads with no tail, or vice versa. And yet we've tried to create an unsustainable reality, an artificial reality that is exactly that. That is only, on this side, it's only the Republicans. On that side, it's only the Democrats or the conservatives and the liberals. Take your pick. All of these are artificially created polarities that have no basis in fact or reality. They are artificially contrived and they are unsustainable because always there's unity. So which do you want, the Democrat or the Republican? Does it really matter? They're both the same. Why? Because they're on the same coin. They're on the same team. They're part of the same deception. The deception of choice. Well, I didn't think I'd ever say that. But choice isn't a deception in the sense that if we have the right question, if we have the right question instead of the wrong question, if we have the natural question, who am I? What am I? What is life? What is love? If you ask these questions, you come to a place of wholeness. If you start asking which one is right, which one is true, which one is real, which one is the illusion, the only illusion is that there is an illusion. That's the separation. When you see that it's all true, when you see that it's all love, when you see that it's all God, when you see that it's all one creation, and it doesn't need to be a creation at war unless we want to experience the war, then we can, and we do, and we have. We've experienced the war all of our lives, the confusion all of our lives, and we've tried to ignore the center path, the way of the heart. We've tried to ignore the healing that is available and has always been available. The peace that passes understanding is the peace of being able to stand in the middle, in the heart, and integrate the lower energies with the higher energies and not put either one of them down, not try to have either one of them defeat its opposite. And that brings us back home to the center, to the essential truth, to the quintessential truth. Quint, the 5, the quintessential truth. You can't do it without the heart. That's why 555 overcomes the extremes, including the 777 and the 888 and the 999. They are not perfection. Perfection is in the middle. It's not either the low end or the high end. It's the middle path. It's the middle way. These are the things that Spirit seemed to be impressing on me again in meditation this morning when I woke up in the wee hours of the new day, which I don't know why they start a day at midnight. They should start a day at 6 a.m. or something, not midnight. But anyway, that's another subject. In any case, I continue to be moved by Spirit, inspired by Spirit, to keep bringing this message because so many people, including myself much of my life, have been confused by the power of the delusion of separation. And it is a delusion because everything energetically is part of a whole. And even when we create something that is artificial, we can only create it from something that is real. Energy is real. Energy is spirit. Matter is real. Matter is just spirit at a slower frequency that we can observe, that we can feel and touch and taste and smell and hear. Matter is the manifestation of spirit. Creation is the creator coming alive in form and function. It's always been that way. Now we can choose, not which God is right, which ideology is right, but we can choose. Do I want to keep living in the tyranny of separation, which is polarization, which pits one dual pole against its opposite, and it calls this one good and that one evil? Well, the very separation is itself the root of the evil, the root of the ignorance. When are we going to allow the Christ within us all, the Buddha within us all, to teach us about reconciliation, to teach us the way of the heart, the middle way? When are we going to get beyond the polarization, beyond the war of ignorance? It's not the war on ignorance, it's the war of ignorance. It's an ignorant war. All war is ignorance. It's insane. It's psychopathic. It's sociopathic. There are no winners in the war of ignorance, the war by ignorance. There can be no winners. There can be no winners until we come to the heart and we remember that love is inclusive, not exclusive. These are things that Spirit was impressing on me in meditation this morning. And I'm not telling you I'm right and you're wrong, but I am asking you to consider what I'm saying, to consider what Spirit is saying to me, and trying to get me to see, as stubborn as I sometimes am, as bullheaded and stiff-necked as I sometimes am, as I often am, trying to get me to see the reality of the world that we live in and know the truth that liberates me and liberates all of my brothers and sisters, because we all are cut from the same fabric of life. That's simply the way it is, because that's all that exists anywhere in the cosmos. Thank you for listening, and namaste.